So the Defence Minister, excuse me, believes the deployment of 25,000 troops will put an end to the insurrection behind unrest last week. It's just one of the topics discussed on the defenceWeb website. Editor Guy Martin gives us a preview of what else to expect. Before we start looking forward, Guy, let's look backwards. Firstly, very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. You believe that what was happening, or I was reading this on your website, is just a precursor of what is likely to come, considering that we still have this grinding and growing poverty.
Good evening, and thanks for having me. Yes, I believe that sending the military in to deal with this unrest is only a temporary solution. And the Defence Minister, when she was briefing the Joint Standing Committee on Defence this evening, she alluded to that as well. And I think that the consensus is that the military can help the police to calm things down. But until the structural problems are solved, then we are going to likely experience the same thing over and over again. Now, if you look at, in the past, we've had xenophobic riots, and a lot of those xenophobic riots devolved into general looting and criminality. So I think that until we solve the massive unemployment problem, start creating jobs, try and reduce the youth unemployment rate, which stands at about 75%, all of these structural issues will keep bubbling up to the front. And I believe that whether or not there was indeed an orchestrated effort behind this unrest, whether it was an attempted coup, an insurrection, call it what you will, it would never have taken off as well as it did if there weren't those structural problems there. If you have people unemployed, then they are going to have the time and the energy to go out and riot and loot. If you have people working in 9-to-5 jobs, it's a different situation.
Yeah, I mean, the social unrest has been a long time brewing, hasn't it? The SANDF, I mean, you wonder how effective it'll be. I believe just at the moment, the troop deployment will cost something like 600 million rand. We've also seen budget cuts there. So how effective can they be?
Well, I think they will be quite effective. If you look at what the SANDF contributed to COVID relief, to Operation Matlela, when they were supporting lockdown measures, when they were deployed to the Western Cape to combat gangs and other criminality, I think they will be effective. And already there are, I think, about 5,000 soldiers in KwaZulu-Natal and about 7,000 in Gauteng. And we are seeing the unrest and the violence decreasing. So I think they will be effective. I'm quite optimistic about that. But the problem is, once the mission is over, then what? I mean, if you can put a Band-Aid on problem, but if you don't sort out what's actually underneath it, we might see the SANDF having to be deployed at a later stage. And the Defence Minister...
Sorry, let me just jump in here. You know, a lot of the security was conducted by people living in their homes. You know, ordinary South Africans took to the streets, many of them with guns, and they were able to protect themselves and their families. We know that there is a new gun law coming up, which means that you can't even have a gun for self-protection. I mean, do you think that this needs to be addressed again, considering what we saw?
Yes, definitely. I think that there's been actually an overwhelming response towards the proposed changes, and I think there's close to 100,000 complaints, basically, against these changes. And if the government does go ahead and try to remove the right or remove self-defense as a reason for owning a gun, I think it's going to go nowhere. It's also almost a laughable proposition, considering what's happened in the last week.
All right, let's go back to the troops, the 25,000 in South Africa. How will it affect other deployments? In Mozambique, for example, we know that Rwanda is going to be stepping in there. And what are you expecting from Eswatini?
Well, we have a Southern African Development Community fact-finding mission in Eswatini. They will be there until the 22nd of July. So we're not sure if they're going to require a force be sent there. But it is rather alarming that there's this sort of belt of instability across Southern Africa. We've got major instability in South Africa. Eswatini is precarious, and obviously Mozambique is precarious. So Rwanda has sent troops, but that's a bilateral mission. That isn't part of the SADC agreement. No SADC troops have properly been deployed. South Africa was supposed to send troops last Thursday, and we have made commitments, but it doesn't appear that we will be sending troops anytime soon. The Defence Minister has said that there are no South African troops on the ground in Mozambique. So we will have to continue monitoring that situation and see what happens there. But the SANDF is very, very thinly stretched at the moment. To get those 25,000 troops on the streets, they are pulling in everyone. So even support staff, there's people from Signals on the Signals Intelligence, they're on the streets. This sort of massive deployment, it's unsustainable, and it does affect other SANDF responsibilities. For instance, we've got over 1,000 soldiers on the borders doing border patrols. We've got the SANDF, we've got 1,000 troops in the DRC with the peacekeeping mission there.
We're going to have to leave it there. Apologies for that. I really enjoyed reading your website and talking to you this evening. Thank you.